Google Maps is an incredibly useful tool to navigate anywhere you are in the world. This holds especially true when you're visiting a foreign country like Japan, where you may not be familiar with their transit system or roads. And with a little bit of practice and some helpful tips, you can easily master Google Maps and make navigating Japan a very easy experience. And that's where I come in. I've been using Google Maps in Japan every day for 5 years now. And after 5 years of constant use, I have learned a ton of tricks that you would only know if you've been using this app in Japan for so long. And after receiving dozens of requests from viewers, today I will be sharing everything I know about Google Maps. From the basics of how to use every section, all the way to my personal tips and tricks. By the end of this video, you will know everything you need to navigate Japan as if you'd lived here for years. Make sure to watch each part as they all tie together and will help the most important part, the train section, make much more sense. Alright, let's get into it. Number 1, driving with Google Maps. Driving in Japan can be pretty confusing, but Google Maps helps make it much more manageable. And I've also learned some tips about Google Maps to make driving in Japan much easier. So let's quickly go over them. For the basics, just enter the destination like you would in any other country and review the route Google Maps provides you. Once you put your destination in, you will see 3 dots or an options tab, which will allow you to tailor your route further. Google Maps will give you options like avoiding highways, tolls, and adding additional stops. There's the basics. Now let's get into the tips. The most important feature to consider here is avoiding tolls and highways. If you're traveling around any major city by car, chances are Google Maps will recommend you to take a toll road to save time. However, these tolls are expensive and can quickly add thousands of yen in additional costs. You can choose to avoid tolls within the route options, but keep in mind it will usually take twice the amount of time to get to your stop. So take into consideration whether your time or money is going to be more important before making your decision. If you're already driving and you need gas or food, Google will give the option to search for places along your current route. My last important driving tip is to make sure you know your exact turn well in advance. Both on local roads and highways, Japan really likes to confuse you with several turns and roads that are all in the same general direction Google tells you to go. The best you can do here is look way ahead for upcoming turns and zoom in closely on Google Maps to figure out the correct road to take. Number 2, cycling with Google Maps. The biking option is almost the same as cars. Just enter your destination on Google Maps and you'll be set. But here's my tip for cycling. Don't use the cycling option in Japan. It's terrible. It will send you up random steep hills or try to guide you down really steep stairways. Instead, enter your destination in the driving section and select the options to avoid highways and tolls. 95% of the time, this will give you a pretty open road and relatively safe route to bike. The other 5% of the time it won't work is probably a place that you couldn't reach with a bike anyways. Number 3, taxis with Google Maps. The taxi and driving sections of Google Maps almost give the same guidance. The only difference with the taxi section is it will slap an estimated price it would cost if you use a taxi to get there. But this can be pretty useful. If you are contemplating whether you should use a train or taxi, check the option on Google Maps and see if the extra cost of a taxi will be worth saving some time rather than taking the train. If you do decide to catch a taxi, either look for one with this sign showing, which means the taxi is vacant, or just head to the nearest train station, as most train stations will have a taxi stand. This will become an important piece to remember when we get to the train section of Google Maps. But for now, let's keep going. Number 4, walking with Google Maps. Using this option is pretty straightforward as well. Entering your destination is the same as usual. However, my tip here is to not hit the start button. If you do, you will get easily confused as the map shakes around constantly. Instead, just leave it in the option right before you hit start. This will help you not only keep your bearings, but you can also freely zoom in or out to make sure you're heading the right way. Not only that, but this is the same setting Google uses if you need to transfer train stations, which we will cover very soon. Another tip is if you're walking and you're not sure if you're heading in the right direction, all you need to do is turn around slowly once to calibrate yourself and Google Maps. Then make sure this cone section is facing the direction of your destination. Alright, now that we've covered every other part of Google Maps, let's get into the most important one, the train section of Google Maps. Number 5, navigating trains with Google Maps. It's the moment you've all been waiting for, the train section. It's also time to show you how all these other sections tie in together, so let's get started. Let's begin with the basics and go over all of the app's capabilities with trains. To start off, after putting in your destination, Google Maps will populate several options using multiple combinations of trains, buses, and more. It will also show you the estimated cost of the trip next to each option, so you can charge your Suica or Pasmo card card accordingly. Along the top of your screen, you'll have several options to choose from, which will help tailor your ideal route. Here, you can choose a specific time to depart, a specific time you want to arrive, and the last train you can take for the day. The next section has all the different modes of transportation you can check or uncheck, depending on if you plan on using a bike, the bus, or many other ways to get around. Finally, in the last section, you can select if you want your trip to have fewer transfers, have less walking, or be the best route possible. Once you check off all your specific options, you can select your route. When you choose a specific route, Google will expand all the details and show you the exact train, platform, and time. Next, all you need to do is head to the train station and make sure you're headed to the right platform. Once you're there, just wait for your train and you're good to go. Clear as mud, right? Yeah, I figured as much. It's okay, because now that we've covered the basics and gone over every tool available to you, it's time I fully broke down every tool and share every trick I know to navigate Japan's trains. Before I go into sharing all my secret tips, please like the video if you found it useful so far, and subscribe to the channel as I have a lot more planned to share about Japan. Let's start with the most important piece, which is making sure you choose the right train. While you can try and figure it out based on whether it's an express or local train, or if it's headed to the right station, I have found a much easier way to get it right. All you have to do is make sure the departure time on Google Maps matches the time displayed on the board for that platform. If both time and platform number matches, you're 100% on the right train and on your way. And if Google Maps tells you have to transfer to another train later on, that's easy. Google Maps will show you exactly how to get to the next train station by foot. To be sure you're heading in the right direction, use all the tips I covered in the walking section of this video and you'll be good to go. If the walking path on Google isn't very clear, just follow the signs in the station to find your next train. You can even go a step further to make sure you transfer as efficiently as possible. On Google Maps, it will show you which train cars will be the fastest for transferring. According to Google Maps, these are deemed the most efficient train cars to transfer due to their close proximity to the stairs, ensuring you'll be the first one to reach those stairs. In order to figure out which car to board, just look down when you're on any train platform and you'll find colored tape on the ground with a number on it. The number you see is the train car that will stop at that spot. In this particular case, it will tell you what train car you will board depending on if it will be a 10 car or 15 car train, which Google Maps is also prepared for. Just find the train car Google Maps says is the best for transferring and you're good to go. Another important piece of information Google provides is the best exit for your destination. At the bottom of your final stop, it will show a yellow box with a number or name in it. That box is the exit Google recommends you take. Once you know which exit to take, just follow signs for that specific exit and you'll be on the final step to your destination. All that's left is to just follow the walking directions Google provides and you'll be there in no time. Alright, now that we know how to efficiently get from point A to point B, let me share with you all my secret tips about Google Maps so you can learn how to fully unlock this app's potential like I do. Train tip number 4, the departure time tool. For this tool, this is best suited for making future plans. The departure time tool allows you to choose a specific time and day when you would like to begin your trip. It will then give you the projected arrival time based on when you tell Google you would like to depart. I use this when I am trying to figure out what departure time would be best if I have a lot of flexibility for my arrival time. It is also useful in specific situations, which I will cover in a few tips from now. But if you need to be somewhere by a specific time, the Arrive By tool is much more useful. Number 5, the Arrival Time tool. If you need to be somewhere by a specific time, whether it be for a dinner reservation, if you want to make a specific Shinkansen, or any other reason, the Arrive By option is immensely useful. All you need to do is put the specific destination in, select what time you want to arrive by, and Google Maps will tell you the exact time you need to leave in order to make it by that specific time. I'll give you an example. Say you booked a Shinkansen at Tokyo Station that will depart by 8 a.m. the next day, and you want to be at Tokyo Station by 7:30 to give yourself plenty of time to board that Shinkansen. All you need to do is type in Tokyo Station, select Arrive by 7:30 the next day, and Google will tell you exactly when you need to leave so you can make it to Tokyo Station before 7:30. I use this great tool all the time as it helps make my travel as efficient as possible. Tip number 6, the last train option. This tip is very useful to make sure that you will never be stranded somewhere in Tokyo when all the trains stop. This tool is pretty straightforward, but it's important that you fully understand it. All you need to do is put in the destination and select the last available option. Google will then present the absolutely last possible train you can take for the day. Here's a disclaimer though. If you're not familiar with Japan, Japan or comfortable navigating the train system, I would not recommend risking the last train. Sometimes you will have to transfer multiple trains to get home. And if you miss any of the transfers in its last train, then you're going to be stranded until the trains start back up. Instead, I would recommend using the depart time tool. And here's how you use it. Find out the last train using the last available option, and then use the depart by tool and wind it back about 30 minutes before the last available train. This will give you a couple chances before the last train so you can make a mistake or two and not be stranded for the night. Train tip number 7, change your starting location. If you're inside the train station and planning your next destination, put the train station you're in as your starting point, not your location. Google has a tendency to think that you're too far from the station to make the next train, even if you're in the train station. This could cause you to wait an unnecessary 10 to 20 minutes for a train you could have just made in 3 minutes. If you put the train station you're in as the starting point, Google will provide the next train to take, potentially saving you a lot of time. Tip number 8, screenshot your route. Once you know which train route you want to take, make sure you screenshot it. If you're in the middle of your transit and accidentally close out of Google Maps, you will lose the route, forcing you to go entirely off of memory at that point. But if you screenshot the route, you will save yourself a lot of stress. However, if you forget to do that, there is another way to get back on track. Just simply find out your train's next stop, which you can find on any screen above the train doors, inside or out, and put your starting location as the next train station you will be arriving at. Google will then restore your route as if you were starting from that train station. Just make sure you choose the route with the train you're already on and you're good to go. Tip number 9, don't use buses. Do yourself a favor and turn off the bus option. Most of the time, it is easier just walking to the train station instead of trying to figure out where the bus stop is. Even if you find the bus stop, you still risk missing that scheduled train. That's because buses can be a little unreliable with arrival times, especially during rush hour or peak traffic hours. Generally, it is less of a headache for you if you go into Google Maps options and turn off the bus option. The only time a bus will be useful is if you're out in the countryside and buses are really your only option. Tip number 10, check your actual arrival time. Make sure you check your actual arrival time rather than the transit time involved. Sometimes Google will trick you by putting the shortest transit time as the best option. And while it might be the shortest transit time, it could still arrive much later than another option that might be just a few minutes of extra transit time. Just a small detail that can save you some time as long as you're paying attention. Tip number 11, sometimes taxis can be the better option. Taking a taxi or walking could be a better use of your time than using the train. Sometimes Google Maps will make you walk 15 minutes to the train station just to have the train take you one stop and then have you walk another 10 minutes to your destination. This option, while slightly cheaper than a taxi, could be 2 to 3 times slower. Also, if you're with a group of 2 or 3 people, you can split the cost of the taxi, almost making it the same cost as taking the train just 1 or 2 stops. Now that you know all these tips, you should be able to navigate Japan as if you lived here. If you found this video useful, please like the video and share it with your friends so everyone can learn to use Google Maps to its fullest potential. Also, please subscribe to the channel as I have much more Japan content planned. Lastly, check out my Thatch profile, which is linked in the description below, so you can easily plan your next trip to Japan. Alright, that's gonna do it, and until next time, I'll see you then.